guys, it's Mrs. Davis, and today we're going to read a book that is one of Mrs. Ballard's very favorite books. This book is called Elmer. Elmer is the story of an elephant who was so very different from any other elephants. And I have a friend here that's going to join us. See, Elmer here is going to join us while we read this book today. Hi, Elmer. Okay, opening the book. We have the inside cover, and then we have this page that has all of these gray elephants. Do you see all of these beautiful gray elephants? Oh, look here. Here is my friend Elsie. Elsie is going to, are you going to join us while we read the book? Oh, Elsie, it's so good to see you. Well, let's start looking at the book here. There was once a herd of elephants. Elephants young, elephants old, elephants tall and short, fat and... Oh, Elsie, why did you do that? Elsie, could you be a little bit better for me, a little bit better behaved? Okay, thank you so much. Let me get Elmer here. Okay, there's Elmer's going to sit right up here with us. Okay, where was I? Elephants, fat and thin, all were different and all were happy, and almost all were the same color. They were almost all the same color as Elsie. Elsie, say hi to everybody. See? Elmer by David McKee. There was once a herd of elephants. Elephants young, elephants old, elephants tall and short, fat and thin. All were different, but all were happy, and almost all were the same color. All except Elmer. Elmer was not elephant color. He was patchwork. Elmer was yellow and orange and red and pink and purple and blue and green and black and white. It was Elmer who kept the other elephants happy. Their games and jokes were always his idea. If an elephant was laughing, the cause was usually Elmer. But Elmer himself wasn't happy. Who ever heard of a patchwork elephant, he thought. No wonder they laugh at me. One morning, just as the others were waking up, Elmer slipped away. As he walked through the jungle, Elmer met other animals. Good morning, Elmer, they said. After a long walk, Elmer found what he was looking for. A large bush covered with elephant-colored berries. Elmer caught a hold of the bush and shook it till the berries fell on the ground. Then Elmer lay down and rolled over on the berries, this way and that. He picked up bunches of berries and rubbed himself all over till he was covered with berry juice. When he had finished, there wasn't a sign of any yellow or orange or red or pink or purple or blue or green or black or white. Elmer looked just like any other elephant. On his way back through the jungle, Elmer passed the other animals. Good morning, elephant, they said. When Elmer rejoined the herd, none of the other elephants noticed him. As he stood there, Elmer felt something was wrong. But what? He looked around. Same old jungle, same old blue sky, same old elephants. The other elephants were standing absolutely still, silent, and serious. Elmer had never seen them so serious before. It made him want to laugh. Finally, he could bear it no longer. He lifted his trunk and at the top of his voice shouted, "Boo!" The other elephants jumped in surprise. Elmer was helpless with laughter. Then the others began to laugh. Too bad Elmer isn't here to share the fun, they said, laughing harder and harder. But then the rain clouds burst. When the rain fell on Elmer, his patchwork started to show again. "Oh, Elmer," gasped an old elephant as Elmer was washed back to normal. "You played some good jokes on this, but this has got to be the biggest laugh of all. What would we do without you?" "We must celebrate this day every year," said another, "the day of Elmer's best joke." All of us elephants will decorate ourselves in his honor, said a third, and Elmer will decorate himself in elephant color. And one day each year, the elephants color themselves with yellow, or orange, or red, or pink, or purple, or blue, or green, or black, or white, and have a parade. If you happen to see an elephant in the Elmer's Day Parade who is just ordinary elephant color, you know it must be Elmer. I hope you enjoyed the reading of Elmer by David McKee. In your packet this week, you'll find that you have a template, an Elmer template that is blank, and I'd like you to do something very cool, just whatever you want to do with it. This one has been done with samples of, it looks like vinyl wallpaper. Look at that cool patchwork job. And this one, I love this. Look at all the different targets or different circles there with red and yellow and blue and purple. And you know Miss Weidler is a fantastic quilter. And this is one that she made that is made from quilt. Oh, look at this one. This one's done with stickers of kitty cats and puppies. How fun is this with a nice colored pencil background? And of course, you know that my favorite artist is Van Gogh. So a few years ago, I did one of the Starry Night and then wrote Vincent on his ear. And here's another great one. This one is done with scrapbooking paper, another patchwork job. Very cool. And Mr. J.D. made one that looks like Mr. Handyman. And here we go with fishes swimming under the water. See how the colored pencil has made the water underneath? And then here's one of Africa. And then this one, when we were doing acrylic pouring last year, I poured some skins and made some planets. And then here's one with aliens on it. So however you want to decorate your Elmer, remember, on the Elmer's Day Parade, he decorated himself as a regular elephant. But all the other elephants were all kinds of different colors and different designs. And just think about all the different things that you can do with your Elmer. Hi guys, we have a little bonus Elmer project to do with you this year if you want to. We're made an Elmer out of a milk jug, just a plain old milk jug. Now this is a gallon jug, but either a gallon or a half gallon will work just dandy. See his little patchwork done with pieces of tissue paper? Mr. Fishburne sent me a picture of this project and I just had to do it with you guys. So we'll set him over here. You'll need the tissue paper that came home this week. You'll need a pair of scissors, some kind of a container to put your tissue in after you cut it up. So any kind of a paintbrush, a stiffer bristle is better if you have a stiffer bristle paintbrush around the house, and a vessel for your glue. Oh, you'll also need your glue bottle. Just plain old glue bottle. Okay, to start with, let me move these things out of the road here. To start with, you need to cut, most of these milk cartons, I don't know if you can see it in the video, but they have a little line right along here, and that's really handy because it helps you to be able to cut pretty straight. Now, an adult is probably going to have to help you with this part because the cutting is kind of tricky. In order to get it started, you can force your scissors in at a point like this, or you can get something sharp like a razor blade or like an X-Acto knife. I have a double-edged razor blade here that I'm going to use. Just pierce a hole in it, just big enough for your scissors to go in, and then cut around as close as you can to on the line. Doesn't have to be exactly accurate, but the line kind of helps you from going too far astray. Like I said, you may have to have some help with this part because it's a little bit hard to cut. It's a little hard to keep your scissors straight too. And as you can see, the bottom of the milk jug makes a dandy little dish to put your glue in, your glue mixture. Okay, there'll probably be a label on your container, so do your best to take that off. The sample I made, I wasn't able to get it all off, but I was able to cover it up with the tissue paper. So if you want, you can pause the video right now and go ahead and figure out how you're going to get most of that label off. If there's some white left, that's fine. We'll just put dark colors of tissue paper over it. Then it'll just be a part of him. Also, when we cut out his legs, most of this label goes away anyhow. And you need to have a Sharpie or a permanent marker of some kind. I forgot to tell you that ahead of time. Here we go. I've got a green marker. And you see on the sample how his legs are cut. See how it's just kind of an arch to make legs for him? So I'm going to do that like this. Okay, we're going to start, see where the bend is right here. Just going to go around in kind of an arch. It doesn't have to be too accurate, just to help you be able to cut his legs. Go up about the same on each of the 4 sides. My container's still a little wet from cleaning it out. And side number 4. I think I got a couple of these a little bit higher, but that's okay. Every elephant is different. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut out each one of these little arcs. Now you might want to save these because, or save 2 of them, because as you can see on my sample here, I decided to take this part that we cut out of the leg and make him some little ears. Go ahead and cut these guys out. Doesn't have to be too perfect. You want to turn your object as you're cutting, and it helps you get a nice arc with your scissors. That one's drawn kind of sloppy, but that's okay. And here's my last one. See, like I said, most of the label is going to be gone when you cut his legs out. So that part, don't worry about it. We'll just put a dark colors. We won't want to use that for his ears. So let's pick out the 2 we like the best for his ears. I kind of like these 2 here. That one's too big. Okay, here we go. Set those aside for his ears. And we're ready. Okay, you're going to take your tissue paper, stack it all up nice and neat. I gave all of you at least 4 pieces of tissue paper about this size, and I used that same amount, and I've still got this much left over from doing this Elmer here, so you should have plenty. Okay, to get relative squares, cut it through the middle like this, squeezing your scissors together so that they cut nicely, because most scissors get kind of worn out after a while and the blades get dull. Then you're going to stack them up again, cut again in half, and then again, and then one more time. And you're going to wind up with pieces about that size. Keep them kind of straight as you're cutting them. And you'll have some pieces that are different sizes, but that's fine. You can use those to fill in little holes. Get this all cut up, and I'm going to have way more tissue than I need. Okay. Gonna put this in my little tray here. You can see why I always like to have these little things around. Very usable. Okay, let's get started here. My sample here, the lid was clear, so I took a red Sharpie and colored both the inside and the outside to give him a nice little red hat there. But this container has a blue lid, so I'm just going to leave that like that, and we'll take our tissue paper right up to where this would be, so we can screw that lid back on. This won't have a little blue hat on. Okay, I'd like to start here and go down a little bit. Most of you guys have done projects like this. It's a lot of fun. It's time consuming, but it's a lot of fun. When you mix your glue, you're going to have about 75% glue and 25% water. Just enough water to make it so it's easily spreadable and doesn't get all stuck up on your tissue paper. Okay, you always need to wet the area that you're going to put your tissue paper on first, the whole area. That way you have even coverage of the glue, and when the glue shrinks the paper up, it's nice and even. So we'll put a piece like that, and then very carefully take some more glue and kind of daub it on. If you go to brushing, you might wipe your tissue paper right off. So kind of daub it on until it gets soaked all the way through. And don't worry about any things that might show through. That just makes your Elmer a little bit different. And I like all the bumps and knobs on this one. This is cool. Let's see. I want to get a different color that's not green. And the first thing we do
is to write, thinking about writing our name, is to put some glue on the surface, and you're going to overlap your tissue paper ever so slightly. Remember, when you first put it on, you daub it like this. Trying hard not to get a bunch of wrinkles in it. If it wrinkles a little bit, no worries. You know, elephants have very wrinkled skin. But we don't want it to be too wrinkled, because if you remember our Elmer for the story, his patchwork is pretty even. So we want to keep it pretty even. Let's see another color. Maybe I'll pick red. Yeah, red's cool. Red goes nicely. It's the complement of green, the opposite of green, so we'll have a nice contrast here. If that happens, just spread back the other way and put on another layer. Make sure you get only one piece of tissue paper, because if you get several layers at once, it'll glob up on you, and then you just put one on a time, or you'll wind up not having enough tissue paper for the project. So that's essentially how we do this. Ooh, I've got some pink here. I'm going to put pink right there. There's a couple of tricky areas. There's one place that you need to cut that I forgot to show you, and I'll show you that real quick. Look on my sample. You see that there's some space here between the trunk and the bottom down here. Let's make that space so that his trunk doesn't look like it's growing into his front there. Once again, I'm going to need to get my razor blade. Mom and Dad will need to help you with this part. So with the razor blade or X-Acto knife or kitchen knife might work if you have one that's nice and sharp. Just cut the bottom of the trunk area away from the body of the milk jug. This part's really thick. Makes it nice and strong to carry home the milk. There, I got it most of the way. One more shot. Oh, that's the ticket. Okay. In order to make this space between his trunk and the bottom of him, we'll need to cut off a little bit of this. So very carefully, please let Mom and Dad help you with this, because it could be dangerous. You're going to whack off a piece, and it doesn't matter if it's not perfectly straight. And we'll have the end of his trunk there. See how that looks more like the end of an elephant's trunk. But now we've got this hole. And the samples that I saw didn't do anything with that hole, but I don't like it. So I'm going to take one of my little extra pieces here, and I'm going to cut a little patch. Just a kind of a square about the same size as the hole here. I've messed that up, but I'll fix it in a minute. Okay, about the same size as my hole. I'll need to trim that off a little bit and make the corners kind of rounded. You see how there's rounded corners on the hole that we've got? So I'll make rounded corners here. And then if you have a hot melt glue gun handy, that's probably the easiest way to put this thing on. If not, you could use your glue bottle, and you could let it set for a few minutes before you continue with the project. So I'll just put a little bit of glue, hot melt glue here. Stick it on there. And then we'll cover that up with tissue paper. I've only got glue in one spot there, and then another spot back here, just for security. I always lick my finger and press my glue down. That's all you need to do. That'll be just perfect. Okay, now let's go repair what I messed up here. I'm going to have to take this blue one off because I got my fingers on it. Okay, I have another blue one right here. And let's put a little bit more glue there and put this guy right here. And continue with our project. Remember, you daub it on and then spread it out. So you'll do that all over him. And don't put two colors together. Like, I wouldn't want to put another green one right there. I think I'm going to get a pink, because that's one of the ones that I messed up earlier. And let's put a pink one right here. And they don't have to all be straight, perfectly straight. In fact, it's more fun if they're overlapping a little bit of kilter. There's some red again. You see what happens if I take my brush and pull? That's not a good deal. So So that's why we daub it on until the paper gets saturated with the glue, and then it'll stay in place a little bit better. Then you can kind of smooth it out like that. Now this process takes a while. I suggest that you do one section and then just let him set, maybe even overnight, and then come back and do another section later on. This part up here, I wanted to put tissue paper up here so it would be uniform with the rest of him. You know, I don't want to go up any higher than this blue ring so that the lid will screw down on top. So let's see. Let me take this piece, and I think I'll cut part of it off here with my dull scissors. Put some glue right there. And then, now when you're going around a corner, it can be a little bit tricky. So you get it all saturated behind, and then you take your time in pushing the paper down, because as you saturate it with glue, it will stretch just a little bit, and that's a good deal. You don't want to overdo it or it'll tear. Okay, there we go. Now when we put the lid on, it'll come down almost to that blue ring, and that'll make it look a little bit more complete. Okay, that is basically the project. You want to cover him all over. This part right here, you might want to put a dark piece there, or any color you want actually. Remember to put some glue. You may have to go over this a time or two to make it look nice and uniform. In fact, put a little bit more glue here than you do on the other places. Put your paper down like that, and then very gently daub on it. See how I'm getting some wrinkles here, but that's fine. I mean, you're going to have wrinkles when you go around the corner. You can kind of smooth them down a little bit, but don't forget, elephants have wrinkly skin. Okay, that is covered. And then when you get ready to do his trunk, pick a contrasting color. I wouldn't want to put blue here, because then you wouldn't really be able to see the, let me get a blue one here. You wouldn't really be able to see the separation between the bottom of his trunk and the top of his body there. See what I mean? That blue, you wouldn't be able to see that separation. So I'm going to pick red, which is also a dark color, or I could pick green. Now this is a lighter color, and we'll have even more contrast. We'll have contrast in color and contrast in value. So going around his trunk is just the same as all the rest of it. And these little pieces of paper don't quite reach around the trunk, but we can put a piece on the front and put a piece on the back. Now I'm lining this up with the bottom of his trunk. Daub it on there. Taking your time, being very gentle and very deliberate with each piece of tissue paper. That'll make your project turn out the best. Okay, got that smoothed out pretty good. And then if you want, you can use the same color to go around the back, or you could use another color. Put some glue on the back here, and down even with the bottom of your trunk, and very carefully daub that on. And that's what you do, that all the way up your trunk. Another thing that I want to show you is how to go around the edges. On my sample here, you can see that I went around the edges to make it look finished and nice and neat at the end. So I'll show you how to do that. I'll put this pink one down here. Oh, we got some drips. Just smooth them out, no biggie. Okay, I'm going to put this pink one going around the corner here. So I'll go ahead and put my glue there, and then I'm going to put a little bit on the back side too, so that when I go around the corner with my piece of tissue paper, this is a little trick you can do if you want to, but you got to be careful. You only pick up one piece of tissue paper if you pick it up with your brush. Daub it on. See how it's wanting to swim around? Daub it on. Let it saturate a little bit. Then take your brush and push to push it up along the bottom. Now when that dries, it'll shrink up just a tiny bit, and it'll look very nice and neat like this area here does. So there it is. There's your Elmer. And like I said, I suggest that you spend a couple of days doing this, because it is very time consuming, but it is totally worth it. And for his eyes, let me show you what I did with his eyes. Just take a regular piece of white paper and cut a circle about the size of a dime, and then take your marker and give him a little eyeball there in the middle and just glue those on with either your glue stick or your glue bottle or hot melt glue gun right on there. And the ears you want to do separately. Where's the ears I picked out? Now you'll do your ears separately with the colors that you want. And since I've got some marker there, I'm going to use a dark color so it'll pretty well obscure that green marker that I've got. Remember to go around the corners, and this is the part that'll glue onto his head. There we go. Smooth it on there very gently. Very gently. And smooth out those wrinkles. And on the back, do the same thing. So go all the way around it, put whatever colors you want, and then when you get finished, kind of crimp it. Right, kind of crimp it just so it'll curve for you, and then glue him on here. And I used hot melt glue, but you could probably use your glue bottle. Put some on there and then figure out a way to take some tape and adhere it here or up to the lid to hold it in place while your glue bottle dries. So there you have it, an Elmer out of a milk jug. Remember to praise God, stay inspired, and keep making art.